Here we are on the front of our Keystone Hideout 200RL. We're going to be doing a technical walkthrough on our unit, showing you all the different options on it and how they operate and a few other tips with it. If you want specific information or more information on that exact product or other products that may end up being on your unit, maybe just a different name brand, you can find that info in our Helpful Hacks section of YouTube and just search that name brand. For now, we're going to go over the general information of the walkthrough on our 200RL. We'll start right here with our 7-way plug that we plug into our vehicle that we're towing with. It transfers all the power for our blinkers, our running lights. It also has a charge line in here that will keep our battery charged up while we're traveling down the road. We also have our breakaway cable. That breakaway cable is to be hooked to the frame of your vehicle, the receiver hitch, or anything of that nature, not the actual hitch itself you're using to tow, because what that does is a pin will pull out of the device on here and send 12 volts to our brakes and activate them in the event that our hitch ever breaks or has a fault in it and the trailer disconnects. So that's a great safety device there. We just need to make sure we're hooking it up in the right place. Next, we have our 12-volt ton jack to make life easy hooking up and disconnecting from our truck. We can run it up and down. We also have a light on the front of it for the nighttime. If you follow this wire down here, it will lead to an inline fuse, generally a blade fuse. And in the event that the jack is not working, you want to check that fuse first and verify if it is blown or not. Next, you want to check your battery voltage to make sure that you have enough battery power to run this jack. In the event you can't figure it out, there is an override for it. This black plug on the back, just pop it off, there's a hole, and your unit will come with a crank handle that you insert into there, and you can run that jack up and down, and it will be able to override and get you out of a jam. Next, under our cover here, we have our dual propane tanks with a dual propane regulator. This is an auto changeover regulator, so you have one tank selected with the lever, and if that tank goes empty, it will automatically swap over to the other tank and never skip a beat as long as you have propane in that tank. When the indicator gives you a red signal on the dial, whatever tank is selected at that time is the one that it will show is empty. If you swap tanks, it should either change to green or to red, whether it is full or empty. Behind that, we have our battery storage as well as our disconnect for our 12-volt system for that battery. A disconnect is basically that. You're disconnecting that 12 volts from the rest of the unit and that battery. We use that whenever we're storing our unit. If we want to shut everything down, we just turn that disconnect off and it'll disconnect all the 12-volt power to our unit. Our passenger side here provides us with a compartment door to gain access to our pass-through storage. You also notice in here we have the location for our future charge controller, which is part of the solar prep package. The wiring is already there for that controller system, and we also have an inverter prep. An inverter changes 12 volts to 110. We would use this if we're dry camping and we want 110 but we don't have a plug-in. We would turn that inverter on and it would feed off of the battery. Now these locations are there and the wiring is prepped. You would just have to purchase those components to upgrade your system. And here we have our Girard tankless water heater system. This system will provide you with endless hot water, and we'll go over the operation on that a little bit more when we get to the control panel on the inside. Next to it, we have our freshwater connection. Our freshwater connection can be filled by removing this cap and just inserting your standard garden hose into there and filling up that tank. We can monitor it through our meter panel on the inside that we'll get to in a little bit, and we fill that tank to whatever level we like. We use that water whenever we don't have a city water connection somewhere, meaning we don't have a hose to hook up to at the campground, or we're stopped at a rest area or camping somewhere overnight that doesn't provide us with water basically. We fill that tank, we turn our 12-volt water pump on, and it will provide water out of that tank into all of our fixtures. If we ever want to drain that tank, we have a white valve under here. We open that valve up and it'll drain that system out. We never want to keep all that water in there if we're not using it, because it does add extra weight to our camper, and also leaving it in there for a long period of time, that water can become stagnant. So you want to empty it out every now and again as well. You don't have to fill that tank up, just fill up whatever you think you need. Below that is our black tank flush. So it's just a little hose connection right there. We'll hook our water hose up to that, and that is where we will flush out our sewage tank. We'll get to that whenever we hit those sewage ports a little bit behind us, but remember, that's our black tank flush location right there. We'll mention more about it a little bit later on. Below that is our city water connection. Our city water connection is if we have a water supply wherever we're camping, we'll hook that water hose straight up to that fixture. You can put an inline water filter in there if you like, and then when we turn that water on, it will supply water to the rest of our unit. So just before our axles, we have our dump station. This is that 3-inch hose valve right here. We'll connect our hose to our sewage hose, and we'll put it into our dump station, whether we have one at our campsite or we have to use one on our way out to dump our system. So we have two handles. We have our black handle and our gray handle. Those indicate our black tank and our gray tank. Our gray tank system is where our shower and sink water drain off into. Now, if you have a sewage location at your campsite, you can hook that hose up and you can leave that gray tank open all the time. That is fine. It keeps you from having to go dump it every time it gets full. However, our black tank, indicated by our black tank handle on there, that is where our sewage goes. That's where everything from the toilet goes. We want to leave that handle closed until we are actually ready to dump and clean out that tank. The reason being is if we let the liquids out of that tank, it will cause the sewage that's in there to dry up, causing dry tank, and that is not a fixable repair. It is generally having to replace that tank, which can be very costly. So we want to leave that valve closed all the time unless we're ready to dump. Procedure for dumping. We have our hose hooked up. You open that black valve open and you let it go ahead and everything drain out. We hook up to our black tank flush that we talked about over here in the front, and we turn that water on, and it's a little jet nozzle in there that's going to spray that tank and push everything towards this valve and drain it out. Now, it may take a couple of tries of flushing out that system for your sensors to read correctly, because debris can stick to those sensors, and that spray nozzle isn't going to cover every portion of that tank. When you are satisfied with the cleaning of your tank, close that valve, leave your black tank flush on for just about 30 to 60 seconds. You want to add a couple of gallons of water to that tank before you store it. Or, if you don't feel comfortable doing it that way, go to your toilet, hold that pedal down, and let the water drain into that tank. From there, you want to add your chemicals before you store your unit. This does two things. It helps wash it down, any debris that might be stuck still in that unit, and anything that may still be in there that needs to be decomposed. Those chemicals as well as the water will help break that system down, and you can flush it again when you get home, or you can just leave it, add more chemicals, and wait till your next trip. Also, under this J-Wrap, you'll see your red and blue hoses. Those are our low point drains. We use those when we want to drain out all the water out of our system, and usually it's in preparation for winterization so the pipes don't freeze. This is our 30 amp service plug. This plug is a twist lock feature. We can see we line up our prongs appropriately, and we will slide it in, turn to the right, and then we will lock in our little retainer ring that threads on there. We're ready to remove, exact opposite. We loosen that retainer ring, twist it to the left, and remove it. One thing we want to make sure is that we are not plugged into our 30 amp service on our pole yet whenever we go to hook this up. And we also want to make sure that our air conditioner system and other appliances that are 110 are off on our unit so we don't cause any kind of surges. So have everything shut down on both ends, plug this in first, then you can go plug in at the campsite. On the rear of our unit, we have our cable connection for park cable. We'll hook a coax out to that for our park cable, and we can scan for cable channels. Up top, we have our Furrion pre-wired camera system for our backup camera. Just had to purchase a camera. All the wiring is already there. And to the right of that, we have our Lippert on-the-go ladder system. This is a telescopic ladder that you can purchase and add onto the unit and store it in your bay whenever not in use. And this gains access to our roof. Why do we need gain access to our roof? Well, it's a rubber roof. It also has sealant up there. We need to check a couple things. We need to check to make sure that any tree limbs or anything didn't scratch and grab and put a hole in that roof. We also need to check our sealant. We need to definitely check our sealant every 60 to 90 days, and we're looking for any cracks, peeling, or any deterioration of that sealant that would allow water to get into it. This is considered customer maintenance and needs to be done every 60 to 90 days. Manufacturers won't participate in any water intrusion repairs if the customer is not maintaining their unit properly. We also have sealant around our corner moldings, our lights, and around our windows, or any other excerpts where we put holes in the side of our unit to add a feature. We need to check the sealant there every 60 to 90 days as well. This is like changing the oil in your car. We want to make sure that we're maintaining our unit. That way it will last for years to come. On our rear bumper, you'll see caps on each end. We can remove those caps and store our sewer hose in there. It's a great place to put it without having to worry about putting that messy thing in our front compartment. So we have that nice storage feature on our bumper, as well as our full-size spare tire. Now onto our passenger side, we have another compartment that leads into our front pass-through bay. We'll notice our Lippert tire link system. This is a pre-wired system where we would just buy the module and the sensors, and we can monitor the tire pressure on our unit. Down here we notice we have some jacks. These jacks are stabilizer jacks only. They are not intended for leveling. They're 12-volt operated, so hitting this button right here to extend and retract those jacks makes it really easy. So operation, we want to level our unit first, but we don't do it with these jacks. We get some stacker blocks, and depending on the pitch of our pad where we are parking it, we place those under our tires to level our unit from left to right. Then we use our front tongue jack to level the unit from front to back. Once we're done, we'll extend these jacks down and put just a little bit of weight on them, enough to maybe lift the unit just a pinch, and do the same thing in our rear, and this will stabilize our unit and reduce the amount of movement that we feel when somebody's walking around in there. They are not intended for leveling. They are not intended to extend way high or lift the unit. This will cause damage to those jacks, and warranty is not going to cover that. So make sure we're only using them for just stabilization. There is an override for this jack system in the event that the motor fails. We have that on the other side. We'll show you right now. So here we are back on the driver's side of our unit, opposite of our motor in and our switch, and we have this handle. We can see this handle has a little slice in it, and it will line up with the post on that jack. We line it up, and we can manually run that jack up and down if we need to. Here we have our 12-volt powered awning. Our awning will run out by a flip of a switch. Holding that button down will extend it, and then of course we can also retract it with the same feature. We have our 12-volt awning lights that provide us light under our porch. A couple of things we want to know about our awning. It is intended to be a sunshade only, not a rain shade. So if we have bad weather coming in, we want to make sure we roll that in. Windy weather, roll it in. Anytime you're in doubt, roll it in. In the event that something happens to that awning due to any kind of natural disaster damage, act of God, it is going to be considered an insurance claim, not a warranty claim. So we need to make sure that we're rolling it in bad weather, and we also need to make sure that we're pitching our awning properly. The pitch is whether we pitch it to the front or the back, it doesn't matter as long as we put it at an angle. For this particular system, we pull our arm down and we can see some tabs right here on the side. We squeeze those tabs together, pull that arm down a little bit more until we find the desired hole that we want it to be in order to bring that pitch down on our awning. Once again, we can pitch the back or the front. Now what this is going to do is allow for any runoff from maybe the AC, light dew, anything like that that gets on our awning. It's going to allow that to run off. If we don't do that, that water is going to pool up in the middle of our awning and it's going to collapse and cause some damage. Once we are done camping, we want to level that awning out. So in order to do that, we'll pull that awning down again, we'll squeeze those tabs, and we'll let our awning go up until it gets back into that position. We have our entry door and of course our grab handle right here. Our entry door is friction controlled hinges, so you're going to feel some resistance when you open and close that door. This is that way when the wind blows, it doesn't slam that door shut. We also have a screen door on here. We can delatch it by pulling down on that latch, and we can close it up and have a nice screen door for the cooler days. Want to reattach it, open it up, lock it back into our main entry door. We have our manual steps right here. It's a double step. They have hinge points there, and then we lift it up, slide it back into its frame, lift it up to pull it out, and we can flip those steps back out. Those hinge points need to be lubricated with silicone spray, not WD-40 or anything like that, because it will attract more dirt and grime as you travel down the road and cause some more issues with that. So we want to make sure that we are using that properly. Up above me here we have a vent. The vent has two little tabs on it. This is our exhaust vent for our range hood. If we were cooking over our stove, we want to exhaust that air out, we need to open those two tabs. That way the air can vent out. Whenever we're done, close those two tabs on that vent. That way no rodents or insects can build any nests up in there. We also have our outdoor speakers. These are Bluetooth speakers, no radio on the inside. You can connect to them by going to your settings on your phone, searching Bluetooth, and you'll find M600BT. That will link you into these speakers, and the passcode for pairing is 6789. That'll connect you to these speakers and you can play music through your outdoor speakers. Here we have our cable outlet and our 110 outlet for our outdoor TV. If we hook up to that, that'll give us cable and antenna when we scan for channels, and that 110 plug is GFCI protected. That means that it's protected by a main GFCI outlet, which is generally found in the bathroom. We'll find it whenever we go into our unit here on the inside, and we'll show you how to reset that. You'll notice the exhaust for our Suburban furnace. Suburban furnace is gas operated, and it will have an exhaust right here whenever it is being used. That exhaust is going to be a little hot, so you want to make sure that you stay away from that area whenever you're out here and it is operating. Under here we have a quick connect for our gas grill or griddle, whatever you decide to purchase to add in here, and you'll have a quick connect hose already installed that will be supplied by our propane tanks in the front. We also have another set of those 12-volt stabilizing jacks right here in the back that operate just the same as the front. Here we have our monitor panel right when we walk into the interior of our unit. By hitting our battery, our black tank, our gray tank, and our fresh tank, we can see what level it's at. Now you do see multiple black tanks and multiple gray tanks on this panel. Your unit only has one black and one gray. They put this same panel in a lot of their units, and you can see tanks may vary by model. That black 2 and gray 2 will mean nothing whenever you push them on your unit. Here we have our water pump. That water pump is for that fresh tank system that we filled. So as long as we have fresh water in our tank, we can kick that pump on and it will supply water to our faucets. If we're hooked to city water or that tank is empty, we want to make sure that that pump is off. Here we have our awning light. Our awning light, of course, is that light under our awning. Lights 1, that is for our lights on the interior of our unit. Any lights that don't turn off with this have a little push button on the light itself that you can operate that way. Our awning, flip of a switch, extend and retract, and all of these components on here are all 12-volt operated, so we need to make sure that we have good battery power and that none of our fuses are blown if we ever have any issues operating it. Not too much to go over in our bedroom area. Of course, we do have some storage under our bed if we lift that up. We have a backer for our television, and we also have our coax plate to hook up a TV. That'll provide cable and antenna and another 110 outlet for that TV. Located in our hallway by our bathroom, we have that COLP detector for our unit. It warns us if there's any hazardous gases in our unit, leaks from propane and so on, and if it ever alarms, we want to go ahead and exit our unit. You want to test the alarm on here monthly. Just hold that button down, make sure it chirps, and make sure we have a good 12 volts so it operates properly. We also have our smoke detector, and you should do the same with that. Check the battery life in it and also test it monthly. We can see mounted on the wall here, we have our Suburban thermostat for our furnace. It's a manually controlled thermostat. We will simply slide this mechanism here until that thermostat kicks on. You'll hear a fan kick on and that system begin to try to ignite. Now this system is gas operated. I highly suggest you bleed all the air out of your propane system before you go to operate it, otherwise it will go into a fault. We'll go over that when we get to the stovetop. In our bathroom, of course, we have our shower with your standard hot-cold fixtures. Now whenever we are showering, a nice feature that we have when we're dry camping, we're trying to reduce the amount of fresh water that we use or the amount of water that we put into our gray tank, because maybe we don't have a dump station where we're at, is you have this hose head right here. The shower head has an off-on button right here on the top. You push that lever left and right and that faucet will turn off without having to refine your hot and cold and your nice warm water setting that you had there, you can easily just turn that faucet head off right there whenever you're getting ready to soap up or rinse off, whatever the case may be. And whenever you turn it back on, there'll be a short spout of cold water before you spray it on yourself. You want to spray it off to the side, and then it'll get warm in about a second. But you won't have to mess with those knobs. Up to you on whether or not you want to use that feature. Above us, we also have a 12-volt fan, that exhaust fan right there for our shower. Whenever we take nice warm showers, we want to go ahead and exhaust that steam out of here, and it reduces the opportunity for mold and mildew in our bathroom. A couple more things in our bathroom. We have our GFCI outlet. This is our main one. So if any of those GFCI protected outlets were to be tripped, we want to go here. Of course, in this one, we have a green light that indicates that everything is okay. Yours may have a red light. It just depends on the brand. So you have a reset button and a test button here. That test button, if we ever want to test this GFCI and make sure that it's working properly, we hit that test button. That light will go out, and we shouldn't have any 110 power to any of our outlets out there. To reset it, just hold down that reset button and our light will come back on. Now, in the event that one of those outlets isn't working, come here. More than likely that light's off. Just hit that reset button and it will reinitiate that system. Next to that, we have our Girard tankless water heater monitor panel. To turn it on, we just hit that red button right there. We have our set temperature. We can set that to whatever we like. And then when we turn our hot water on our unit, the icon off to the right is going to be a little shower head that shows that the water is in use. We'll have an icon off to the left side with a little fan on it. That's our flow meter, showing that the fan senses the water flowing through the unit. And then in the middle, we'll have a flame icon that ignites and lets us know that the burner has lit and we should see warm water here soon. If we watch, our temperature has changed to a different temperature. This is now our output temperature. This would be the temperature of the water coming out of our tankless water heater system. So we'll see that begin to rise and eventually reach the mark that we have set it at. Once we turn that hot water off, that system will shut down. Keep in mind that this system is only going to run for 20 minutes before it's automatically going to shut off. In order to reset, just turn that hot water off and then turn it back on and it will kick back on. Our toilet is the last thing in the bathroom we need to cover. Operational by this foot pedal down here at the bottom to initiate opening that ball valve and dumping it into our black tanks. Now, it's very important we only use RV toilet paper, and we also add chemicals to our tank to help decompose the solids in there as well as the toilet paper. Now, to initiate our toilet, we talked about we hit that pedal and we flush it. For number one, just liquids, no problem, drop it down there. If we're doing solids, we want to barely press that pedal down enough to where the water starts coming out and that ball valve at the bottom is still closed up, and we want to fill our bowl up about half to 3/4 of the way. That way this water will help flush those solids down the piping. If we don't do that, we can run into some clogging and everything as that solid tries to make it down to the black tank. Once again, sewage only and RV toilet paper only and chemicals only. Nothing else is to go into this tank. You put anything else in there, you're going to run into issues trying to drain this system out. So make sure we're doing that properly. And after we flush our tank, we leave a couple of gallons of water in there as well as our chemical. Here in our kitchen, we have our standard 110 microwave as well as our range hood vent with a light on it, 12-volt fan and 12-volt light. We have our burner right here for our dual burner system. It is propane operated. We have a little button here to give us some lights on our knobs if we wish. To activate, simply turn that knob on the desired burner to high, and we're going to hit that igniter, and it's automatically going to light on our system. We turn it to that desired temp, we cook, and then we shut our system off. Now, as I said earlier, we may have air in our lines at some point in time. If we just pulled our unit out of storage, that propane is going to dissipate out of the line, and then we turn our propane on, there's going to be air trapped in there. Or if we just changed our tanks out, there's generally going to be some air trapped in there. So the first thing I suggest to all campers, anytime we've done one of these two things, or you just want to be sure that the air is out of your system, come over to your stovetop, do exactly that. Turn to that high position and try to ignite that system. Now, it may take 30 to 60 seconds for that to ignite, maybe longer, depending on how big of a propane system you have, and eventually it's going to light. We want a nice, clean blue flame all the way in there. No poppy stuff, no orange stuff, or anything like that. Once it is done and we have that nice crisp blue flame, you've more than likely got all of the air out of your system. And I suggest doing this before we operate things like our water heater system or our furnace. That way we can be sure that they don't go into a fault mode. Also want to be certain before travel that we go ahead and close our glass top on our burners as well. Here we have our GE 12-volt refrigerator. If we open it up, we have a control knob right there that we can change our temperature, and we also have a freezer up here as well. Big thing to remember about our refrigerators, no matter the brand or anything, these refrigerators are going to end up freezing up top and cooling down here, which is what we want them to do, right? Until we shut our system down. When we shut our system down, all that's going to defrost, and we're probably going to get some condensation in our fridge box. So what we want to do is we want to clean out all that water out of our freezer and wipe down our refrigerator real well. Maybe keep our doors open to let everything dry out. If we don't, that water will leak out of these doors and it will leak down and damage the wood around our refrigerator, and that's not covered under warranty. So make sure that we are doing the right thing and cleaning everything out. This also helps reduce mold and mildew in your refrigerator and freezer. There's no drains on these boxes, so we have to get a towel and get all that water out of our fridge or freezer box. Down below our refrigerator, we have our 110 and 12-volt control center. This is where all our breakers for our 110 system are, and our 12-volt fuses for our 12-volt system are. We go here if we have an issue with any of those components, and down below it we'll see a little grid. Then you'll hear a little fan blowing back there. More than likely, this is our converter system. Our converter system is basically a battery charger. When we're plugged into shore power, this is kicking and it is charging that 12-volt system to help supply lights and other items throughout our unit. So we'll hear that running, no concern there. Just know that that's where it's located. We'll notice our dinette booth can also sleep a few people here. If we pull our table up and remove the two poles underneath the bed, the tabletop will sit on these bumpers right here at the bottom, and we take our back cushions and stack them on top to provide us another bed. We also have our jackknife sofa that folds down into a bed as well. Notice here we have our Furrion air conditioner system. It is controlled through our rooftop air system right here. We have an off option, our cool option, and our fan option. Of course, cool is going to cool our unit. Fan is just going to circulate air, and our thermostat right here to swap from cold to cooler. To swap from cold to colder. Our dump vent location right here, if we close it off, we're not going to get any air circulated through our unit. So when our AC is on, want to make sure that's open. And we also have a screen right here, our filter that we want to clean out every now and again to make sure that we are not restricting airflow into our AC. You will find a heat option on here. This heat option is if we had a heating element installed on here, which we don't from the factory, so that would be an option you can add on. This will only put out the cold air. Your warm air or hot air from your furnace is going to come out of the floor vents mounted on the floor. Here in our living room area, of course, we have another backer for our television right here, and this is where our antenna coax and our cable coax comes in as well. You'll notice differently on this one, we have a little green light and a button. What this is for, this is our antenna power. This is our boost to help us with air channels. So if we're scanning for air channels on our TV, we want that light on to help add boost and provide more channels for us in that area. When we are searching for cable channels at the campground, we want that system off so it doesn't scramble those channels. Also, we have another GFCI protected outlet to provide power for our TV.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful, but wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit, and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us, and keep watching here at Great American RV SuperStores, where we bring the how-to you.